Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Great to have you with us for this special series we're calling the 21st Century Man podcast.
Hmm.
In this series, we're really digging into each chapter of that fantastic book, The 21st Century Man. Today, we're tackling chapter 58, Medical Fat Reduction. This one's by medical writer Kevin Wilson. Our mission today is to explore, well, fat itself, its surprising roles, the challenges modern life throws at us regarding fat, and the really interesting medical options out there now for targeted reduction. The chapter kicks off with that great Rodney Dangerfield quote, "I found there was only one way to look thin, hang out with fat people."
Mm-hmm.
But luckily for you, we have a much better plan today.
Yeah, that quote, it's funny, but it really does hit on something, doesn't it? A common feeling. This chapter is just so relevant right now for understanding men's health, self-image. It gets right to how our bodies work, how modern life messes with that biology, and honestly, the pretty advanced solutions available for things many men worry about but maybe don't talk about much.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The word fat, usually negative, right? You get pizza maybe, or that belly fat that just won't shift. But the key thing, and it's fundamental, is that fat is actually essential, like really essential for our bodies. It's not just some enemy.
Exactly. Our bodies need fat for so many vital things. It's not just storage. It cushions our organs, keeps us insulated. It's a macronutrient involved in, cell messaging, all sorts of functions. Plus, it's part of compounds our body makes, and it stores those fat-soluble nutrients, like vitamin D. And what's amazing, evolutionarily speaking, is how good our bodies are at storing energy as fat. It packs, 9 calories per gram?
9. Compared to 4 for protein and carbs.
Right, more than double. Super energy dense, which was great for survival back then, but, well, now it's our modern challenge.
That's the key point. If it's so vital, why is it such a struggle now? What changed?
That's the core dilemma, isn't it? Our bodies are basically hardwired to store fat. Think evolution. Our ancestors. They faced scarcity, lots of physical activity. Storing energy efficiently was critical. But us, today, we're largely sedentary. We eat way more than we need usually. Our energy reserves, like carbs, are almost always full. So the body does its job. It stores the extra calories as fat. That old advantage. It's now a massive modern problem. Hello, obesity epidemic.
So it's way more complicated than just eat less, move more then.
Oh, absolutely. It's this collision, right? Sedentary lives plus this abundance of high-calorie, often nutrient-poor food. Food processing makes things easy to transport, store. Sure, but it often strips out nutritional value, even things like, genetic modification or just simple crossbreeding for looks or taste. Sometimes that actually reduces the nutrient density. Fruits, vegetables, many were more nutritious decades ago. Surprising, huh?
Really surprising.
And this all leads to this huge health crisis. We're seeing skyrocketing rates of type 2 diabetes, hypertension, stroke, dementia, sleep apnea, even cancer. It's a national crisis.
Man. Okay, so beyond those incredibly serious health risks, there's the personal side, how it makes us feel about ourselves. For men, unwanted fat often shows up in, let's say, specific spots that really hit our self-esteem.
Oh, definitely. We're talking love handles, that lower back fat, the abdomen, jiggly bits on the thighs or upper arms, even sagging chest tissue man boobs, as they're often called. Double chins. Not exactly confidence boosters.
I bet a lot of guys listening are nodding along right now, thinking of one or two of those areas. And Kevin Wilson, in the book, he even goes into that really sensitive area, the pubis. He points out how a bigger pubic mound doesn't just look less appealing, it actually hides some of the peanut shaft, makes it look shorter, and, well, as he says, every inch counts for men. It's a real private thing.
It's a great example of how practical this book is, and it brings us to the reality. How we live, what we eat, that's the main driver. And while a healthier lifestyle absolutely key for overall health, sometimes those stubborn fat pockets just stick around no matter what.
Right. Diet and exercise don't always get those last bits.
Exactly, and that's where these medical fat reduction options come in.
Okay, so let's talk options. Liposuction.
Yeah.
That's the one everyone knows, the gold standard maybe, but it's got major drawbacks too.
It does. It's very effective for removing bulk fat, no doubt. But it's surgery. That means surgical risks, long recovery times, it's expensive. And another thing people don't always consider, if you gain weight after lipo, the fat might not come back evenly in those treated areas. It can look unnatural.
Okay, that makes sense. Which is why these minimally invasive or non-invasive options are so popular now.
Precisely. Safer, often less hassle, less downtime. Big appeal.
So who's the perfect candidate for these newer medical fat reduction techniques?
Generally, the ideal person is someone who's already pretty close to their goal weight. They're relatively slim, healthy, but they have these specific localized bulges that just resist diet and exercise. Think of it as fine-tuning, really. The closer you are to your overall goal, the better the results you'll likely get from these targeted treatments.
Okay, targeted solutions, got it. Now, something critical that might get missed. The skin. What happens to the skin after the fat's gone?
That's a huge point. You remove the fat, but you're left with the skin that was stretched over it.
Right.
Now, skin does have some natural elasticity. It contracts somewhat, depending on your age, health, genetics. But often, it's just not enough for a smooth, tight look. So, technologies that also tighten the skin are often, frankly, essential for a really good result. It's not just about fat removal. It's about the final shape.
So it's a two-part problem, really. Subtracting fat and dealing with the skin.
You've nailed it. You really need to address both for the best outcome.
Okay, let's move to the next category. Energy-assisted liposculpting. Sounds different from basic lipo. How does it work?
It's generally less invasive, more focused on the surface layers compared to traditional lipo. Instead of just suction, it uses energy, could be laser, like smart lipo, or ultrasound, like Vaser, or radio frequency, RF, like body tight, right at the tip of the suction tube, the cannula. This energy basically melts or emulsifies the fat first, makes it easier to suction out, less traumatic for the surrounding tissue, allows the physician to really sculpt the area, not just remove volume.
Sculpting, not just removing. Okay, and those different energy types, laser, ultrasound, RF, do they have different pros and cons?
They do. Laser and RF have a thermal effect. They generate heat, which is good because that heat can actually help contract the tissue a bit, giving some skin tightening.
Bonus tightening.
Right. But there's also a slightly higher risk of heat damage if it's not done very carefully by an expert. Ultrasound, on the other hand, is generally considered safer from a heat perspective, but it doesn't give you that same contraction benefit. So while a really skilled surgeon can get amazing results with traditional lipo, many find the energy-assisted approach gives a more natural-looking, sculpted result.
And this is popular with men.
Very popular, yeah, despite the cost. Especially when combined with other things. It's great for defining muscles, getting that washboard abs look. And like the book mentions, ultrasound is really favored for flattening the pubic area.
Which gives that more attractive stomach profile and makes the penis look longer, more visible.
Exactly. Practical concerns addressed.
Okay, shifting again to the truly non-invasive stuff. This sounds almost like sci-fi. Reducing fat with no cuts at all.
It really did sound like science fiction not too long ago. But the research in the last, say, couple of decades has been huge. And crucially, the last 10 years or so have shown really consistent, proven results. What's also interesting is the shift in who's getting these treatments. About 1 in 8 patients now are men. That gap is closing.
Men are overcoming the stigma.
I think so.
Yeah.
They're seeing the facts, the results, minimal discomfort. It's convincing.
All right, let's get specific. Cool sculpting. Everyone's heard of that one. How does it work?
Right. Cool sculpting, or cryolipolysis, it uses an applicator, puts it on the target area, and uses vacuum to draw the tissue in. Then it chills that tissue significantly, really cold, for about 30 minutes. This cold damages the fat cells irreversibly. They crystallize, then die off slowly over the next few weeks and months. The body just naturally processes and eliminates them, slims the area down, and the key is the skin and other tissues aren't harmed by the cold.
What's it feel like? And any side effects?
Patients usually feel strong pulling, then intense cold that quickly goes numb. Generally comfortable after the first few minutes. Side effects, usually minimal. Some redness, tenderness, maybe bruising, lasts maybe a week or two. Some people report temporary diarrhea. There are rare risks. One is called paradoxical adipose hyperplasia, PAH. The fat cells actually get bigger instead of smaller. Oddly, it's more common in men.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And sometimes you can get a shelving effect, like a little divot needs more treatment to fix. But overall, it's popular because it's safe, it works, and it's been marketed really well. Lots of different applicators for arms, thighs, back, abs.
Okay. Then there's the heat version. Non-invasive laser lipolysis like SculpSure. How does that compare?
Similar idea, opposite approach. Heat instead of cold. SculpSure uses a specific laser wavelength that penetrates the skin and heats the underlying fat cells for about 30 minutes. Kills the fat cells through heat, again, without harming the skin surface. Efficacy and safety are pretty similar to cool sculpting, but side effects are often even milder. Maybe just some redness and tenderness for a few hours, usually painless treatment.
Any other big difference?
Yes, a practical one. Cool sculpting typically treats one area at a time per applicator cycle. Sculpture often uses multiple flat applicators, so it can treat several spots simultaneously, like both love handles and the abdomen, or arms and thighs, in one session. Can be more time efficient.
Makes sense. Okay, next one, focused field RF. Vanquish ME. Sounds different again.
It is quite different. Cool sculpting and sculpture are great for those smaller, defined pockets of fat. Vanquish ME is not really for that. It's designed for debulking a larger overall region. And importantly, it's proven effective for heavier patients, which isn't always the case with the others.
So broader reduction, not just spot treatment.
Exactly. It uses large panels, emitters positioned over the areas like the whole abdomen and flanks or thighs or arms. Doesn't touch the skin directly. You lie there for about 45 minutes feeling a comfortable warmth like a heating pad.
That was relaxing.
It is. Usually needs 4 to 6 sessions. And the big pluses. No side effects, no downtime at all. But because it's reducing volume over a larger area, the need for skin tightening afterwards is usually greater. It doesn't replace lipo for major volume, but it's a unique tool, especially for those carrying a bit more weight overall.
That's a really useful distinction, and it brings us right back to skin laxity. You mentioned Vanquish ME will likely require separate skin tightening.
Yeah.
What about cool sculpting and sculpture? Do they tighten skin?
That's the crucial follow-up point. None of those 3, cool sculpting, sculpture, or Vanquish ME, inherently address skin laxity in a significant way. So for that really polished, satisfying result, you almost always need to plan for additional treatments using laser or RF devices specifically designed for tissue contraction. It's part of the package, really.
Okay, good to know.
And science also shows that massage, either manual or with a device after these treatments, can actually enhance the fat reduction results. Many doctors recommend it.
Interesting. So what are some of those other non-invasive options that do help with skin tightening? You mentioned RF earlier.
Right. There's non-invasive RF like Tresculpt. This uses radiofrequency energy too, but it delivers it deeper into the fat layer than, say, a surface laser. It damages fat cells like the others, but the key benefit is the heat generated also actively promotes tissue contraction.
So it does both fat reduction and tightening.
Exactly. Makes it good as a standalone or combined with other things. Usually only needs about 2 sessions. Results are comparable to the others for fat loss.
And then there's one that combines RF and ultrasound, Exilis Ultra 360.
Yeah, that's another interesting one. It's generally a more superficial treatment using both heat, RF, and sound energy, ultrasound, applied through the skin to disrupt fat cells. It can be used on larger areas, but it's probably not the best choice for significant debulking. Where it really shines is on smaller, tricky areas. Knees, for example.
Places the other applicators might not fit well.
Precisely. And its big advantage is that it's great as a combination therapy. Use it after cool sculpting or Vanquish ME, for instance. It can help sculpt those little remaining bits of fat, and it was specifically designed as a skin tightening technology, so it addresses both aspects.
Okay, so lots of options, lots of technology. For someone listening, considering any of these, what's the one common thing they absolutely need to keep in mind?
Patience, that's the big one. Unlike surgery, where you see a change pretty quickly, these non-invasive methods rely on your body's natural processes. It takes time, usually a few months, for the body to clear out all those damaged fat cells and for the final contour to emerge. You won't walk out looking dramatically different immediately.
So manage expectations on timing.
Definitely. But the other commonality is that these are all generally safe and effective when done right. The most critical step is finding a reputable physician, having a proper consultation, and getting an honest assessment of what you can realistically expect based on your body and your goals.
Which brings up the question, where do you go? Med spas sometimes offer simpler treatments, maybe cheaper. Or is a physician always better?
Look, med spas can be fine for certain things and sometimes less expensive. But at the end of the day, putting your trust in a dedicated physician, even if their trained staff performs some procedures, is almost always the best bet. Why? You get the highest safety standards, the best education on all your options, not just the one machine they have, the most realistic assessment, honest expectations, and usually the best possible outcome. It's about expert guidance and oversight.
Makes sense. Invest in the expertise.
Yeah.
And once you get those results, how do you keep them? Because none of this replaces healthy habits, right?
Absolutely not. Any good doctor will stress this. After treatment, maintaining a healthy lifestyle is non-negotiable. Good nutrition, regular exercise, that's essential to maximize the results and, just as importantly, to sustain them long-term. Eating well and exercising is cheaper, healthier, and just better overall for keeping the look you and your physician work to achieve. It's an ongoing commitment.
This chapter, chapter 58, It's just packed with this kind of practical, insightful information. It's really just one part of the 21st Century Man. We really encourage you to read the whole book. It covers so much ground for modern men: health, wellness, self-improvement. It's incredibly comprehensive. And you can find more info, plus resources mentioned in the book, over at www.the21stcenturyman.com.
Yeah, and maybe a final thought as we wrap up, talking about physical changes, medical procedures, it connects to something deeper, doesn't it? Self-acceptance, building confidence. It's all part of that continuous journey of self-improvement for the 21st century man. It's about integrating all these aspects.
Really well put.
Yeah.
A holistic view. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Chapter 58 of The 21st Century Man. Hope you found it insightful, maybe learned something new. Be sure to join us next time for another exploration in the 21st Century Man podcast. We'll be delving into Chapter 59. Listen to the music. See you then.